I welcome you to the SBC CasinoBeats Malta Digital 2020. The new normal dictates that we meet virtually and not in person, but I am confident that Malta's success in handling the COVID outbreak will allow us to host you in Malta soon.
The gaming sector has stood up to be counted during the crisis. From donating to charitable foundations, apartments being made available for frontline workers, and also assisting the staff in coping with any mental health issues exacerbated by this crisis, showed the in-depth knowledge and empathy of their HR teams. We also had a case of a CEO of a gaming company loaning his house in a town in Msida to medical doctors free of charge. All this with the sector adopting responsible gaming protocols. And delighted to note that many operators are continuing to act responsibly and overseeing the long-term health of their customers.
Noticing in the office that there was a lot of anxiety. Someone would sneeze or someone would cough a little, and you could visibly see people start freaking out. I know that was happening, throughout Malta, as not just our office. But with that and with the uncertainty, we made the decision, and we were lucky that we were able to make a decision from one day to the next. Where we just said, right, everyone can work from home.
I saw that people actually stepped up in their productivity, but also in their proactivity. So it was a kind of a wake-up call that these guys actually had more potential than we thought they had. So their leadership skills from a remote working perspective actually were shining through during this time.
We have to be vigilant. The social distancing measures need to continue to be adhered to. We need to continue using our common sense. But I think the industry is well placed to adapt to any scenario.
Definitely see the opportunity of reducing the cost relating to the office spaces, and listening to what the employees want and whether they actually want to come back to work and have that social interaction, or have the option to stay working remotely.
Technical is something that companies can learn, teach, but really truly, if you hire for character and other important traits, there you go. You can have that person possibly add value to your company more long term.
Working from home has its benefits, of course, and a lot of people actually were reporting that they are working more, they are more available, there was a higher collaboration between teams. It was, of course, very difficult for people, let's say, that they are living with their parents, that they are living with their kids. Obviously, they have to juggle different things at the same time. But I think the experience overall was a very positive one. Right now, I think everyone is really looking forward to be back at the office. I think this honeymoon phase of working from home, it's over. But I really hope that the new reality will look like that we are able to work from home, that we are more flexible. And I think it will work very well for the industry as well.
First of all, productivity is just such a difficult thing to measure, full stop. Unless you are on production line, what is productivity? And I'm not going to go into a philosophical debate here, but it's difficult to measure at the best of times, and that's why performance management processes are tricky business. And it's even more difficult now to establish a really strong link between remote working and productivity increase or drop, because as it was suggested by Kinga already, there are other variables at play here as well. For instance, some people love working remotely, some people hate working remotely. Some people love working remotely but have to take care of their children, but they don't have a daycare facility. Therefore, their ability to focus and work concentrated might be impacted.
I think the bigger focus for me, and I think that's where Betway has been doing the marketing, has been building the brand, is the growth in viewership, and as an industry in betting on your more traditional esports games, your CSGO, your League of Legends, your Dota.
People in the age near 24 and under 24 they were switching to the esports much more efficient than older guys. So they understand what esports are, and for them it was another problem just to switch and try to make a lot of bets for the esports.
My impression is that the young people playing esports or playing different computer games or console games have a very good understanding of what betting is, and have a very good understanding of what odds and how this works. And I think a lot of that reason is that almost all games contain some gambling aspects.
One of the things that we look for when recruiting anyone is, are they going to fit into our culture? Have they got the drive and the adaptability and the resilience to work in Leo Vegas? And so, yes, we recruit attitude first, but then I also think in addition to that, it's really important then to have the right processes in place in order to make sure that we can train people up very quickly, making sure that when we're working in, regulatory environments that are continuously changing, how can we upskill people very quickly?
Something that I've seen that increases motivation, not just for our responsible gambling team, but also internally. For example, we invite people with a lived experience of addiction, or we invite affected others. So it gives really the humanistic perspective of what we're doing. It also gives motivation to why we're doing what we're doing. But also sometimes we invite researchers, for example. So if we can't possibly, there's no specific diploma or degree in responsible gambling, at least you train your staff by getting the resources to them.
You can often do these big culture projects or brand projects, and then you just think, right, that's it, I'm done for 4 or 5 years. That's not the case. The culture is constantly evolving, and the things like the coronavirus pandemic will only kind of accelerate things. And I think it's really important that you kind of keep on top of how people feel about working for your organization, and feed that into how kind of you evolve, how you go to market, how you try and work, your working processes.
People bring in their own culture, and then it has to be a cultural fit with the culture that you have. But I think, and that's why I say it's an evolving topic. So you need to make sure that you cherish the parts that you think are important for your organization. But I think you also need to listen and see what can be added and brought to the table.
The industry has always been very much approaching things in an isolated way. It's very protective about its information, its players. I think it's high time, and I think we've been seeing it, whereby operators really start to come together. You're not going to be able to find a situation where you are able to change the entire industry. There's no way of that happening in my mind. But certainly if you're able to combine a lot of the key forward-looking, long-term vision operators that are in it for the long game and are looking to do things properly, then that will start to perhaps crowd out some of the other cowboys.
But what we have had is a debate certainly in terms of the public consciousness about the proliferation of gambling, proliferation of online gambling in particular, online betting and online gaming, and the extent to which that may or may not have induced a certain amount of gambling harm.